Hello, kids. Good afternoon. It is 12:05. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. Whether you spend a few moments or the full 3 hours, we're thankful of that. We've got until 3 o'clock today, and we'll hand off to The Drive and Brian Wilson at that time. Live and local conversation happening every Monday through Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And when news breaks on the weekend, we're there too. Thankfully, no significant news breaking on the weekends over the last couple of weekends. We had several weeks in a row where we joined you on a Saturday or a Sunday because of breaking news, but no such news. Let me tell you, did you see were you outside yesterday? Anybody? Were you outside on Saturday? Anybody? Jay Harper says he was. Bell, did you bother to go outside of your home?
Outside bad, inside good.
But if I understand your dynamic, but let me tell you, if there was ever a day where outside could compete with inside with you, I know it's not going to win. But if there was ever a day, I think yesterday was the day, man.
Actually, I went out to the patio at one point, and I couldn't believe how nice the air felt.
The humidity is like non-existent, and it's 80-something degrees, and it's just beautiful, and you're wondering, are there parts of the country that feel this way all the time? And if so, can I move there as much as I love Middleton? No, it was great. It was absolutely fabulous over the weekend. I hope everybody got a chance to get outside, get out and about. You'll hear more from Bell K coming up in just moments. Jay Harper was waving his hand. Did you get out and about over the weekend, Mr. Harper?
Yeah, in fact, Matt, I was at the Titans preseason game on Saturday night. Man, it was 70 degrees, a nice breeze. It was perfect, man. Absolutely perfect.
Want some of that in my life, man. And they won, which I know it's a preseason game, but it's still nice.
But still, it's so fun to see. They played the 49ers.
Okay.
Yeah.
They played the champions of the NFC.
The runners-up.
Last year's champions of the NFC. What do you think, Harper, while we're on the subject, we were talking about being out and about. You mentioned being at the Titans game. I mean, you know sports. You know sports. I mean, news. You know about a lot of things. What was your assessment of the performance? I understand preseason. I understand we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but from everything I'm reading, Will Levis did well. The offense, vanilla, sure, but everything looks like it's shaping up for an exciting season.
Yes, I certainly thought that. It was nice to see the quote-unquote projected starters, many of them, including Will Levis, as well as Tony Pollard and Ty-J Spears. It was nice to see them in those two series that they played. And, it was refreshing not to see run, pass, punt, as we've seen for the last several seasons.
I mean, I think, and not knocking the last few years and not knocking, you don't want to speak ill of the dead. And Vrabel is now the dead in football world, but in Titans world, but it is nice to see a different philosophy coming out on the field. And let me tell you, I told a guy over the way, I was playing golf at Two Rivers yesterday, and we had a threesome, and so we were paired with an extra guy. And he rode with me, a fellow by the name of Don. Don, if you're listening, thank you for a nice round of golf. Hope you enjoy the show. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I hope that I'm your cup of tea. But anyway, I feel like I'm going to be too much for Don. That's just me. We didn't talk politics, but the little that we touched on it, I feel like I might be a fire hose when Don's looking for a little trickle spigot. But one way or the other. Don, I hope you're listening. He said he was going to tune in. But we're there, and we're enjoying the world, and we start talking sports. And I said to him yesterday, I said, if you're going to do the type of football, and I don't claim to be an expert. I just watch it on television. But if you're going to run the type of show that Mike Vrabel ran in today's NFL, you better win. If you win, the fans will be behind you. If you win with that 3 yards and a cloud of dust attitude on offense, that's all well and good. And while it was working, the fan base in Tennessee was like, okay, sure. I mean, if this is going to get us to the playoffs, if this is going to get us to the championship game, if this is going to get us an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, sure. But when it starts going south, they're going to turn on you in a second because people want to see offense. They want to see throwing. They want to see high power. Calvin Ridley looks great, man. Calvin Ridley looks so good. But anyway, and what he said to me made sense because he's been here a lot longer than me. I think he said he came here about 19 years ago. That Mike Vrabel carried with him that Bill Belichick attitude, but he didn't have any of the trophies to go along with it. And if you're going to have that type of, I say what happens in this program and nobody else, even the general manager or the ownership, is going to question me, you need to have a couple of championships behind you. But that's enough of sports on the News Talk radio station. One way or the other. 615-737-9986. If you want to jump in here, talk about how wonderful the weekend was. And it was, man. It was just an absolute Chamber of Commerce weather weekend. You may do so. 615-737-9986. The phone lines on the Matt Murphy Radio Show are always open. We are always looking for an opportunity to turn a monologue into a dialogue. And I love dialoguing with you. And particularly this Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, I'm going to ask this of you on this Monday edition. I want to know what your assessment is, because I trust you more than I trust the media. I trust you far more than I trust most commentators, even right-wing / conservative commentators, because I don't see what they're saying. And I don't know if I'm missing something or not. I was thinking of this last night. Am I missing something? Or are all of these political pundits declaring the demise of Donald Trump on August 12th, are they full of hot air? So in order to explain what I'm asking of you, and I am asking you to give me your assessment of where we are, I feel like it is game on. And that once we get into the arena of ideas, that's fine. If Kamala Harris wants to battle Donald Trump's cult of personality with a cult of personality on her own, that's all well and good. But once we engage in an arena of ideas, what do they have except to steal ours? Which is something Kamala Harris did over the weekend, and I know Hand was talking about it, and we'll talk about it as well, the no tax on tips idea. That I guarantee, Bell, you know how I do, right? I make these proclamations, and then, it was, not that we're keeping tally or anything, but it was April of 2022 where I said Joe Biden was not going to be the candidate for the Democrats.
100% fact.
And I thought I was going to be wrong on that, and we turned out right. So all I ask is that you write these down, you put them in an envelope, you date the envelope, we open it up later, we see if Murphy was right, and a lot of times I was. But
and then we get to hear Ride of the Valkyries.
And that's right. And then we... Right, Murphy was right. Murphy was right once again. See, I got to get him to. I don't do it right. I do it below the waterline. I need to do it up here. Got it.
Yes.
Anyway, I forgot what I was saying about me being. I was going to be right about something or another. Prediction. I remember it now. Go ahead and answer the phone, and I'll make this prediction to everyone. At some point, the media will try to gaslight you and claim that Kamala Harris had the idea for no tax on tips before Donald Trump. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Murphy, that's ridiculous. How in the world could they get away with that? That would be like Kamala Harris claiming she's in favor of fracking when, in fact, she was repeatedly against fracking. That would be like Kamala Harris suggesting that she believes in border security when she has spent the last 4 years, actually more than that, 8 years against any level of border security. That would be like Kamala Harris suggesting that she's in favor of increasing United States oil and energy production to lessen our dependence on foreign governments when she's been steadfastly against offshore drilling and other techniques for those many years. That would be like Kamala Harris suggesting that she's in favor of immigration and customs enforcement when she's on the record to be against it. That would be like Kamala Harris suggesting that she never funded the get-out-of-jail-free cards in Minnesota when she absolutely promoted the funding of the get-out-of-jail-free cards in Minnesota. That would be like her flip-flopping on every major political issue of our time, and no one's saying anything about it in the mainstream media. Yet, friends, that's exactly what's going on. And sadly, some conservatives, Republicans, whatever label you want to put on them, they're buying in. They're buying in. Oh, Trump's in trouble. How's Trump in trouble? It's fascinating to me. So many of these conservatives that think they know better than him, There are a lot within the political class that would call themselves Republicans. I'm talking about, just to give you some examples, I'm talking about people like Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and these other snotty-ass Republicans. Yeah, I said it. I said it. We're going to learn today. You kids in the car, my apologies. I didn't mean to say the curse word. I got to be better about that. All of these snotty Republicans that have, since Trump came down the escalator, they've told us that they know better. And that if he would just do this and this and this and this, and I understand 2020 happened, to make no mistake, I get it. But there were a lot of reasons that 2020 happened. One of the reasons that 2020 happened was the Democrats wised up to the idea that they could not beat him fair and square. They could not beat him by the rules that we engaged in battle in 2016. And so the rules changed. Oh, you can say they changed because of COVID. You can say they changed for any number of reasons. Well, the Democrats learned. And so now they are attempting to run the same political campaign with Kamala Harris that they ran with Joe Biden in 2020. Except they don't have the age and infirmity and dementia thing hanging over their heads anymore. They're trying to insulate Kamala Harris in plain sight right now, and they're insulating her against any and all questioning regarding her previous record. They're doing it for a period of time. As I predicted 2 weeks ago, they're trying to shield her until after the convention. And then once after the convention happens and she's the nominee and she gets all of that bluster and all of that bounce, the media is going to pretend, many in the media will pretend that the last 7 years never happened. They will act as if, oh, she's already said why she changed her position on that. Why are you asking about that, Murphy? That's old news. We see this game plan playing itself out. In the meantime, what amazes me are the number of conservatives / Republicans. And once again, these labels mean different things to different people. I don't label. I'm not labeled by anything. I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member, as I like to say. But I hear so many pundits that are so-called experts talking about how Trump, where is he? Why isn't Trump speaking? These same people were telling Donald Trump to talk less. These same people were telling us that Trump needed to know when not to get in the way. I think what he's doing right now is very strategic and it's very smart. You're not going to get in front of this parade. Why bother? Let them have their moment. Let them lie about it. You're on the trail. You're doing your thing. They're going to have their convention. And after the convention, game on, baby. And it's a game of ideas and ideals and ideology and policy and politics. And personality. These same Republicans, so-called, that were telling us that Donald Trump needs to shut up for the last 6 years are now telling us that Donald Trump needs to speak up. Well, which is it, people? It just sounds to me like you need a reason to twitch. If you know what I'm saying. You're just complaining for the sake of complaining. Now, thirdly, I warned you guys, we launched Operation Save Joe. 2 days after? It was a couple of days after the debate. I think it was the next weekend, the next Monday. After the I want to say the debate. Right. I want to say the debate was on like a Thursday because we were out at Hop Springs, and then that Friday, and then over the weekend, I came to realize that it was so bad and it was not going to get better for Joe in a way that we need to save this dude because this dude was going to make it easy. We're going to miss him. We're going to miss him. Once that cackling gets in your head, you can't get it out, and we're going to miss that guy. I mean, for evil as he is, as much money as he's funneled from foreign governments through our government and to his family, as dirty as he is, we're going to miss that guy. Because I don't think Joe Biden was certifiable socialist. This one is. I don't believe I'm old enough to remember a time when Joe Biden was called a moderate, and he was too moderate for his political party. That was back in 2020. So I launched Operation Save Joe for a serious purpose. I mean, yeah, we had fun with it on the radio and we laughed about it, but I was serious. She is going to be more formidable because she has the energy that he didn't have. Both of them are willing to do and say anything to get elected. They will do and say anything to get elected. But Joe did not have the energy to execute the plan. Neither of these people believe what they're reading off the teleprompter necessarily. They're just reading a script. One of the reasons they're shielding Kamala Harris, as they did Joe, from the mainstream media is that every so often, like a blind sow in a pig pen, the media finds a good question. And when they're caught in the headlights and they stumble and they fumble because they've not been told what to say. They don't have core convictions, these people. But Kamala is performative enough and she has energy enough that she can execute the battle plan in a far superior way to Joe Biden. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing a bump because a bunch of starving people were given crackers. If you're on a desert island, if you're a Democrat, Joe Biden put you out on a desert island, man. You had nothing to nourish your political needs. And then Kamala Harris came along. Is she good? No. Is she smart? No. Is she trustworthy? Of course not. Is she ideologically driven? Not a chance of it. But she has youth and energy, relatively speaking, on her side. And she can execute the battle plan. And so you pull up to a bunch of starving Democrats and you hand them crackers and they think you just fed them a 5-course meal. A 7-course dinner. Just wait a minute and continue to feed them those same cackling crackers. Continue to feed them this same lack of core conviction and the flip-flopping on ideology and position on issues and see what you can tell me in the next 3 months. I'm not talking about the lost. There's 40% of this country that they're absolutely lost and they have decided. And we have to get this around our heads. I am so motivated. I am more motivated than I have been in a long time. We are going to drive this thing home until November, friends. And we have to get it around our skulls that 40% of the country is absolutely lost. And 90% of the mainstream media would be in that 40%. They have bought into the idea that our America is broken and has to be rebuilt in the form of socialism. They won't say that, but I sure as hell will. This isn't about the 40%, and this isn't about the 40% that are all in. This is about that 20% and convincing them that she's not completely phony. And I can't believe that those people are that stupid. Okay. After begging of you to give me your opinion, I've now shared 20 minutes of mine. That's the opening monologue. Let's get to some of the pleasantries real quick, and then we'll get to your telephone calls. Like, it is Locks for Trump Day 163. I'm channeling my inner Nick Nolte on Supertalk TV. I beg of you to go see what you think about it. Supertalk TV is up and running. Thank you to U.S. Pest, our good friend JK and Erica. JK, who I saw over the weekend, and he's doing fabulous.
Where'd you see him?
At his place.
Oh, you just went and hung out?
Yeah. I learned something.
What?
They will deliver honey. I don't know that I'm supposed to be saying this. JK will tell me if I'm not supposed to be saying this or not. You can have honey delivered to you in a 55-gallon drum.
What?
JK and Erica have honey. Once again, I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about this, so I could be getting in trouble. I hope I'm not. JK and his wife, Erica, same as my wife, they have a honey collective. It's called the Tennessee Honey Collective. And they had while we were there, they had 2 55-gallon drums of honey delivered to their house. It was
55
Yeah, you heard me properly.
2 of them.
No, yeah, not 1, 2.
110 gallons of honey.
Mm-hmm. Now, well, they don't fill them all the way to the top, so my estimate's about 50 gallons per, which is going to be about 400 quarts of honey.
Bell? Why do you...
Bell?
Yeah.
That's a lot of honey.
That's a lot of
That's a lot of honey.
That's a whole lot of honey. That's why he's drinking a lot of tea.
But anyway, I say all that to say U.S. Pass bringing you my Nick Nolte look on Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Join us over there. You can also find us on internet streaming platforms, of course. I'm very late, so I'm going to rush this. It is episode 629 of our edition here today on Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and that edition is entitled
Matt Murphy, mugshot ready and looking for an arrestable offense. Be ungovernable. Libertarian lunch. Noon to 3. Prison food.
Here, I'm going to give you this right before we go to break. Ready? Ready for this? I'm going to point when I give you this. This is the full Nolte. Here it is. Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Craft Body Scan. For the month of August, they have extended their $149 special, and I want to tell you all about it. It is for you and a loved one, you and a spouse, you and a life partner or life mate. Friends, we want to make sure that your heart and your lungs are doing A-OK. And for $149, we have a couple's heart and lung scan, which is valued at over $2,500. A huge savings for anyone looking for a simple and non-invasive way to check their heart and their lungs. We've heard countless of stories. I'm sure you've heard about them in your life, right? Where, Johnny or Jane went to the doctor and they found something long before they felt symptoms. And, we were so happy that they did. And we prayed and thanked the Lord that they did. Well, there's a proactive way to make sure that nothing's going wrong inside of your body, even if you don't feel like something's going wrong, and that is this heart and lung scan. Go and talk to the people at Craft Body Scan about this. Schedule a scan at togetherwescan.com. That's togetherwescan.com. No referral necessary. 615-436-1000, 615-436-1000 for Craft Body Scan. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Do you hurt? Where do you hurt? Well, nowadays, in 2024, the Dr. Gill Center wants you to know, with Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and their team approach to chiropractic care, that anywhere you hurt and for whatever reason, they can assist you. The bottom line is this. There was a time when chiropractic care was really, I would say, skeletal or spinal in nature, or skeletal in nature. And now they are working soft tissue, and that approach has helped those of you who hurt in your soft tissue through their red light therapy program, through their Class 5 laser system, and of course their spinal decompression that they brought to Middle Tennessee some 30 years ago is available for you as well, to fix those pains that ailed you without having to pop pills, without having to get injected with needles, and without having to consider surgery. That's what it's all about, friends. It doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. $49 will get you your initial consultation and your initial appointment. Let's get it done. Let's get pain-free with the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. 615-882-4838. 882-4838. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin.
A Gallatin man charged in the Sunday shooting death of a teen, and an Atlantic storm system is expected to strengthen. We'll have those stories at 12:30, well, here at the bottom of the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Jay realizing that Matt Murphy's running horribly late, and let's not point that out to Paul. New suit doesn't need to hear all of that. Let's just pretend
reasonably certain that he listens.
Let's just pretend can we pretend like we've already done the news but do the news? Maybe we could do that. And then we'll get to your telephone calls.
And whatever makes you happy.
I got ahead of myself.
That's right. You're the man. You call the shots here, buddy. Noon to 3. It's your deal, man. I'm here to serve.
Yeah, you like to pretend that I run things, but let's be honest.
You know what that is, though? You know what you two, I know what you two are doing, because when you're in the room with Paul, you're going to be like, look, he calls the shots. It's pretty clear. He's the man. He's the guy. I don't know what to tell you. You need to talk to him. And then you know what I'm going to say when he talks to me?
It's their fault.
Jay was in the bathroom. I was holding off. I was just lying. Just telling. No, Jay was in the. No, that was all for the radio. Right. Jay was in the bathroom, and I was stretching for harp. That's what I'll say.
Bell was in the kitchen getting coffee.
Yeah, there was nobody at the controls. I don't know what these people are doing from noon until 3, but they're not supporting me, Mason.
I look through the glass. Ain't nobody there.
Well, there is somebody there right now, and it's news time. Your call's coming up on the Libertarian Lunch on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It's 12:32. I'm Jay Harper with your top story. Sunshine, 82 degrees. The weather forecast coming up. Police have charged a man for the death of a 16-year-old at the residences of Gallatin apartment complex. This happened last night. Police say Adrian Wilkerson confronted a 16-year-old about car break-ins, and when the teen ran, police say Wilkerson shot and killed the teenager. Wilkerson is charged with second-degree murder. Police are asking anyone that may have information to please call police. The investigation is ongoing. Weather forecasters keeping a close watch on a new tropical system taking aim at the U.S. Ernesto is expected to become a tropical storm before reaching U.S. territories. That would be the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. They're saying that should happen this week. ABC meteorologist Samara Theodore has the latest.
We see this storm strengthen once it passes Puerto Rico to Category 1 status. Beyond that, it could potentially strengthen to Category 2. At this point, a lot of the models right now are pushing this out to sea, but not before impacting Bermuda. So Bermuda may take either a close or direct hit from the storm system.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to remind you that you need to protect yourself. And now, I mean, most of you know this, but nowadays more than ever, right? We're seeing increased crime rates in the city. I'm not here to scare you, but wherever you live, there is the possibility of theft. There's always the possibility of fire. And we need to protect these things that are valuable in our lives, whether they're sentimental items, things of value, like gold and stocks and whatnot, or sentimental items or jewelry and whatnot. And then, of course, there are your guns. You need to make sure that your guns are safe and protected from the bad guys. And those are the things that protect you from the bad guys. And you do all of this at Nashville Safe House. Nashville Safe House is located on 4th Avenue South, and for a while now, almost 3 years, I've been telling you that they have a better selection of safes than I've ever seen in my life, and that is true. Mark and his team do a great job of keeping the safes in stock that you want and the brand names that you like. I mean, and I could go down the list of brand names. They've got, if you know of say, Browning is a good example, or Fort Knox is another example. If you know of a brand of safe that you've had good experiences with and you need to get a new one, or you need to expand, you need to get bigger, whatever your reason, get to Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com and you can see the selection online, but better yet, see it for yourself. Over 200 safes right there on the showroom floor and another 400 laid back in the warehouse. It's Nashville Safe House on 4th Avenue South. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you, where gun safes are always sales tax free at Nashville Safe House. ST997, that's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around. It is 12:39. My name is Matt Murphy, and I host a gathering called The Matt Murphy Show on a regular basis until 3 o'clock. We'll hand off to Brian Wilson at that time. So many of you already responding via the phone lines, and we'll get your calls momentarily as promised, and on the membersnutrition.com super text line, 615-737-9986. Alan writes in and says, Jay Harper doing the local hog report in honor of the late, great Les Nessman would be far more entertaining and meaningful than anything that Kamala Harris would ever have to say. I would agree with that. I used to do ag futures at 6:10 to 6:15. I used to do all of that in the early morning hours at WTWA 1240 on your AM dial. Your favorite easy listening hits from the 40s to the 80s. I used to do all of that. So, yes, Jay would sound great doing that. A lot better than Kamala. I would agree.
I have done those stock futures as well, way back when.
Did you ever, hey, Harper, while we're talking about it, just being you talking? Because you've been around, right?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I started all this radio stuff 46 years ago.
Ooh, you're not that old.
I was in high school.
Well, I started when I was 15.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it about 35 years. Do you ever read you ever do the obits?
Oh, yeah. The obituaries.
Yeah, we used to do the obits. Mm-hmm. We had sponsored and unsponsored obituaries. And during the sponsor, so if the obituaries were sponsored, and this was during drive time hours, like 4:30, 5:30, we would do local news on radio. And the top of the hour news was Mutual News.
Oh, yes, remember it well.
And then the bottom of the hour was the local news. And we did it every hour from 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night on the AM side. I mean, every hour. We had a news director for a 1,000-watt AM, which if you've been in radio very long, you know that those days are long gone. But anyway, and during the sponsored obituaries, I'm a 15, 16-year-old kid, and I'm trying to read some of these because you read all the survivors during the sponsored obituary.
Yes, I recall that.
And you mess up a name, man, and your phone starts ringing. And I was fascinated at the number of times a family member would call me mad because I mispronounced Meemaw's name. And I'm like, I think maybe your priorities would be better placed in, grieving. I don't know.
Pretty certain she didn't hear it.
I'm positive that she didn't care if she did hear it, but anyway. So we've been around the block, Alan. We can tell you some stories about radio. Cecil, one of my all-time favorite names in existence is Cecil, and he's on the line with us. Hey, Cecil.
How you doing, sir? Now, man, I tell you, I don't know what shelf you're gonna put me on, the Republicans or the conservatives you was just talking about, though, but. Here goes my doom and gloom. Now, you just broke it down with the 40%, they've already bought into the media and what they're saying. Okay, I agree with that. So we need to reach 20%. So in order to reach those 20% that we need, do you feel we need those 20%? And if we're going to reach them, do you think it's wise for Donald Trump to be talking about her race and she's stupid and everything? Because we know she's stupid, but, do you think that he's going to reach those 20% by just talking about, her ethnicity and stuff like that? I think he should stick to her policies, and that's going to be more effective. But do you think that would be a wise strategy? Because let's think about it. At this point, if you're for Donald Trump, you're not for. I can't see how a person could be undecided at this point. Either you're for him or you're not, with everything that's going on. So what path do you think that he should take? And I agree with you. I'm happy. You just gave me some information that I didn't know. I didn't know that he's been quiet. I mean, I really didn't know that because I've been busy driving truck.
He's been quieter. I mean, he's back on Twitter today, which is a big deal. He's got this Elon Musk interview tonight, but he's been quieter for him. And by that, I mean he hadn't been popping off on Twitter, but he's back on Twitter now, or the X machine. You're right, Cecil, in that you have a known commodity in Trump. You have a known commodity to a certain degree in the Biden-Harris ticket, but what the media is trying to do is to create false enthusiasm for the new face on the ticket for the Democrats. She's not a new face, but they're trying to create her as a new face. So
I don't think that's going to work.
Well, what we're largely dealing with is a turnout election. Now, you might have some people that claim to be swing voters, and I'm just generally talking about that 20%. I don't really think it's 20%. I think it's more like 10%. I think it's more 45-45 with 10% in the middle that maybe could swing one way or the other. But really, if you want to boil it down or get it down to where the goats can graze on it, you're talking about 5 states, right? And you're talking about maybe, I'm just trying to do the math. You're probably talking about 100,000. And if you want to get scared, Cecil, this is what we're talking 100,000 votes split amongst 5 states: Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin. 5 states.
How many of those states were sanctuary city states? Out of those 5 you're just talking about.
Well, I don't think they're sanctuary states. I think that, obviously, Pennsylvania has sanctuary status in Philadelphia and probably in Pittsburgh, too. I don't know about Pittsburgh. I mean, but, you know, in Wisconsin, you're going to have Milwaukee, obviously. In Georgia, you're going to have Atlanta. I mean, there are bigger metropolitan regions in each of those states. Now, Arizona is far more on board with Donald Trump on the immigration issue because Arizona's having to deal with it on the regular. So Arizona is more in the bag with Trump on the issue of immigration and sanctuary status. But
can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just hope that the Republicans have done their homework and put people in these major cities instructed to be able to watch and see what's going on. Because me being a truck driver by profession, I go everywhere, and you don't see people supporting Trump in the inner cities because you and me both know they're Democratic cities. They're ran by Democratic mayors, chief of police. Everything is Democrat. But then you add more out in the rural area, all you see is people supporting Trump. So I hope that they're able to process those votes, get those votes. Those votes got to go into the inner city or wherever they got to go. And I hope that they can do it in a way to where, the election won't be compromised. I hope they've done their homework on that. Because if they haven't done that, then we're lost anyway.
But understand this, circling back to your original point, Cecil, know this. Donald Trump did something, the nature of why all of that came up about her being black versus Indian and how she presents herself, all of that was based on a question asked of Trump. Trump was asked the question at the National Association of Black Journalists. Trump walked into a hostile environment, a place of the type that Kamala Harris would never go. She would never walk into the, Society of Conservative Journalists or whatever it might be. But he did, and he was asked a series of hostile questions regarding race relations and him being, quote, racist. And he answered honestly. And by the way, he's not wrong. She leaned on her Indian heritage when it was advantageous to her. She leans on her black heritage when it's advantageous for her. She floats with the wind. Now, I said at the time that it's not a good idea for him to highlight this because it will be used against him and we stay away from the issues. Every moment we spend commenting on all of this garbage, we're not talking about the border and the economy. Right. So I think I think he answered the question. The media did what the media is going to do with it, and we'll move on from it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Cecil, thank you. Call anytime. I love that. 47 after the hour. Stephen is next up. It says Stephen's in Paris, and I'm going to assume that that's Paris, Tennessee, and not Paris, France. I'm going to assume that, but I don't know. Hey, Stephen.
Hey, Matt. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. Hope you are.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's Paris, Tennessee. Yeah, I just I know you was trying to get people's opinions on the debate coming up. I've been thinking about it. I kind of recognize a couple strong points for them, for the Democrats, mainly the women on the Democratic side, like the squad members and Kamala Harris and the Hillary Clintons and all those. Really, it's not their track record that's going to help them win or that's got them to the place where they are, their status. It's really the fact that they really can win an argument. Women are really good at arguing. They're really good at winning arguments. They know how to manipulate and think ahead and pull you into a certain situation. So I think she's going to be attacking Trump with her own questions. And, my strategy would be every time she hits me with a question, I would just hit her with a question. Because it's really track record against track record. Even though she's only the vice president, she still had a bunch of jobs to do, a bunch of things that she was responsible for, and she didn't shine through on anything. So if he gets into an argument with her, she's definitely going to muck him up a little bit, And I mean, that's just the facts on it. He needs to try to refrain from.
Well, I think if Donald Trump comports himself in the same fashion that he did during the Biden debate, he'll be fine. Now, I expect that Kamala Harris is going to have memorized her lines a little better than Joe. I expect that she's going to be a little more cogent than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But he has to refrain himself from attempting to overtalk her, and he has to pick his moments that he corrects her. But do that because you're going to have to. But don't get into, it's always been the concern with Trump during those things, and we saw it to a certain degree, 2016, a little more so in 2020, where if you interrupt too much, then people start getting frustrated at you.
Yes. Yep. And so just stay focused on your record, on what you've done and what you're going to do, and don't get hooked in. Don't get pulled into questions from her or argument with her. That's what she's going to want. So, yeah.
I look forward to it. We know that there will be one on ABC. Donald Trump has proposed 2 additional ones. There is 0.0% chance, despite the fact that Trump is willing to go into enemy territory at CNN, despite the fact that he's going into enemy territory at ABC, he's going into enemy territory at NBC. I wouldn't even claim that Fox News is necessarily enemy territory for Kamala Harris, but she's not going to sniff Fox News because they're going to give a more fair-minded debate. She has every expectation that NBC and ABC will put their thumb on the scale when it comes to the debates upcoming. Now, she's not agreed to the NBC one. She has to do the ABC one. One would hope that she would do more than just the one. Remains to be seen whether or not they're agreeable to that. Bottom line is, I don't expect that ABC or CBS or NBC or any other network is going to be as fair-minded as CNN ended up being. They stayed out of the way expecting that Joe Biden would come in sensible. And when he wasn't, it was too late. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, you will not hear me giving them much credit on a day-to-day basis because I hate CNN. It's a garbage network full of garbage people. But they actually did a good job during that debate of staying out of the way. And I promise you, the mainstream media will not make that mistake again. Not make that mistake again. 51 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I love the Glock store. And I love the fact that you can do a lot of different things at the Glock store. So, obviously, it's the place to buy a Glock. They have every Glock imaginable in stock. It is the best place to learn about how to use handguns and long guns. Every session is a private session. They have private rooms, not public lanes. That's the best place to shoot and the best place to compete. They have regular competitions, low light and no light competitions, plus the USPSA has competitions there, open competitions every single month. But did you know that it's a great place to party as well? There ain't no party like a Glock store party is what they say. You've probably seen the billboards, and here's the lowdown. The parties include a VIP room with a full kitchen, dedicated shooting rooms with instructors, shooting activities designed for every level, and they include ammo, even the full auto options. Get your party started by emailing them, party@glockstore.com. That's party@glockstore.com. Once again, party@glockstore.com. Folks, I've been to many of these parties. I've been to special events, private and public events, and the Glock store got it going on. If you've never been, you got to go. And the best place to go to party is at the Glock store. Minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. It's Glock store off Airlane Drive and Elm Hill Pike. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Glock store.
The U.S. commenting today on the increasing coziness between Iran and Russia. And a country music star's court appearance has been delayed. And finally, a Gallatin man charged in the Sunday shooting death of a teenager. We'll have those stories at 1 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. And that's coming up in mere seconds. Also, in the second hour of the Matt Murphy Show, we'll talk a little bit about this.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Hey, we're going to eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. I wonder where Kamala Harris came up with that idea. We shall discuss coming up in mere moments. Plus, you on the phones, you on the Super Text line, and more to come. Matt Murphy Show in progress. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN News Time now.
Good afternoon. We are just a few seconds shy of 1 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Sunshine, 83 degrees. A weather forecast is coming up. State Department Principal Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel during today's State Department briefing saying the U.S. is aware of reports that Iran is planning to deliver ballistic missiles to Russia. Patel saying the U.S. is concerned about the, quote, deepening security partnership between Iran and Russia.
It is not just a threat to European security, it's a threat to Middle East security, but it's also shows that Iran's destabilizing influences has reached beyond the Middle East region, and that should be of concern to the entire world.
Here in Music City, country music star Morgan Wallen, he will not be appearing in court this week after a judge granted a continuance until December. The hearing has been moved from August 15th to December 12th. The Whiskey Glasses singer, he's charged with several counts of felony reckless endangerment and disorderly conduct charges for tossing a chair from the rooftop of Eric Church's Chiefs Bar earlier this year. The chair landed just a few feet away where, some cops were standing there on the sidewalk. Wallen has commented on all of this, where he has said that he's not proud of his behavior. And finally, staying here in Middle Tennessee, police have charged a man for the death of a 16-year-old at the residences at Gallatin apartment complex last evening. Police say Adrian Wilkerson, he confronted a 16-year-old about car break-ins, and when the teen ran, police say Wilkerson shot and killed the teenager. The man is charged with second-degree murder now. Police are asking anyone if they have information on this case to please call detectives. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
I'm having a great Monday. Are you guys having a great Monday? I certainly hope so. It's already halfway done. I feel weird. I feel like I've missed half the day when we get here at noon, and it's because we have. But there's another 2 hours to go, and we've got plenty to get into on the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you all across the Music City, all across Middle Tennessee and beyond, from Southern Kentucky to Northern Alabama and all points in between on your radio dial 99.7 FM. You can also find us on any internet streaming platform of your choosing. And I say that way because we're everywhere, man. We're like that Johnny Cash song, right? So if you go to any place that you find news or podcast or information or music, type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and we'll be there. And you can listen to our radio station right there. Now, I would encourage you to go on and download our app. Go to your app store and type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, and then you can take us wherever you go, and you can listen to Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis. By the way, Belle, before you take off those headphones, do you know why someone is asking me to ask Dan Mandis about the raft story?
Not a clue.
I don't either. Something about the raft and Mandis saying, "Oh, poop," or something. I don't know. I'm just being asked about it.
I don't know how to fit those pieces together, but when you add
I
Mandis,
do, but it's not going to look good for him.
When you add Mandis to the mix, it sounds like they should fit together.
Yes. I don't know. Miss a moment, miss a lot of Nashville's Morning News. But the point being is that if you stream us, you can take us wherever you go, whether you're listening to Nashville's Morning News with Dan and the gang, or if you're listening to Chris Hand or Brian Wilson. 4268 says, Hank Snow wrote, "I've been everywhere." Well, Johnny Cash, I thought Johnny Cash sung it too. I mean, I didn't say he wrote
absolutely sung it.
Yeah, Johnny Cash sung it.
Yeah, many artists have recorded that.
Yeah, that's
Lynn Anderson had a.
If I said Johnny Cash sung it, then I wrote it, then I'm sorry. I know that Johnny Cash didn't write it.
Johnny had a hit with it.
I thought I said he sang it. I'm like that Johnny Cash song, "I've Been Everywhere, Man," because I didn't really listen to the Hank Snow version. So for all of you Hank Snow, apparently there's a Hank Snow fan club out there because I got like 14 different messages immediately on the members nutrition. And I was not trying to besmirch the good name or character of Hank Snow. God bless him.
Or maybe they're Canadians that are listening because that's where he's from.
Is Hank from Canada?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, he deserves to be disparaged.
I was about to say, then I don't feel bad about it anymore. To hell with him. I'm going with Johnny's version. I told the story over the weekend. I mentioned the 55-gallon drum of honey that I saw this weekend, 2 of them. Actually, I saw like 10 of them. The guy came in on a truck. He had 10 of them. But I also, you learn new things when you're out in the country and when you're talking about country music and, people like Hank Snow and Johnny Cash. Anyway, I'll tell you the story sometime of what I learned over the weekend. I haven't asked if I can tell this story, so I got to ask. I always have to remind myself, always ask. Most people don't know the Matt Murphy rule. That is, everything's radio worthy unless you specifically tell me that it's not radio worthy. And in that case, I'll refrain. Maybe Hank and Chris are related. Maybe so. Oh, no, I remember what it was. I told the story this weekend of I had first gotten to, and you longtime listeners will know this because I've told this story a couple of times on the show. So I first came to Nashville. I'd visited Nashville, and when you visit Nashville, you don't really dive deep, right? You see the Ryman and the Grand Ole Opry and Lower Broadway and a couple of other things, maybe Nissan Stadium and a few bars along the way, and that's it. Maybe some Franklin, whatever. When I first got to Nashville, most of you know, and we will not get in the ghetto because Belle's not in place, but I moved for a year to the Grand Old RV Resort, Convalescence Home, and Bat Meat Market in the ghetto. And when I first got here, I'm a longtime fan of old school country music. I was brought up listening to Hank Snow and Eddie Arnold and Jim Reeves and Johnny Cash and Merle and the rest. And my grandmother was a huge Jim Reeves fan. She was a huge Eddie Arnold fan. Who was the one that sang North to Alaska? Johnny Horton. She was a huge Johnny Horton fan.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And I
way up No.
I remember I used to sing. I could remember the lyrics to the Battle of New Orleans. Was in 1814 we took a little trip. Yeah.
Yep.
Johnny Horton. And they powdered his behind, and when they set the gator off, the gator lost his mind.
Well,
Anyway, so I was bound and determined, and I don't know why I didn't know this, but I was bound and determined to make a pilgrimage to Johnny Cash's Hendersonville home. And I'm living in Goodlettsville, and I've only been here several weeks, and I traveled out. I looked it up. You know, you can look anything up on the Google machine or the DuckDuckGo machine nowadays, and so I looked it up. Johnny Cash's Hendersonville home. There's the address.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. Well, I've told this story before, and you did this to me before. Wait for the punchline. So I go out, and I drive up, and I see the historical marker and the guard shack, and I pull my truck over, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing this beautiful property, and I see some wood, and I'm like, where's the house? Am I missing something? And I actually stood there, and before my brain connected everything, I'm like, is it underground? Is it in the side of the hill? Where's the house? And then I realized it had burned down.
Yeah, God had certain issues with a BG going in his house.
T.G. Shepherd tells a great story about that, by the way, because I met T.G. Shepherd in Hendersonville at Moby Dickey's, and he told us a story about, we met him having dinner, and he told us a story about, he's really good friends with Barry Gibb, or was really good friends with Barry Gibb. Is Barry dead?
No, Barry's the only one who's still alive.
I think he's good friends with Barry Gibb. T.G. and Barry became friends back in the 1980s, and he told the story about how all that went down and how they were treating the house with some sort of varnish or finish on the wood, and apparently, whoosh, disco burned down Johnny Cash's home. And so I was telling that story the other night.
Just sad.
Leaning over a 55-gallon drum of honey. 12 minutes after the hour, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. I have been to Twitty City, yes. It just seems to be, I mean, it's not Twitty City anymore, right? It's, what's that? Huckabee, right? Huckabee Films out there now. I think that's correct. Yeah, that's right. All right, so Kamala Harris has taken to the stump. She's not giving television interviews on purpose because she doesn't dare chance the fact that somebody's going to call her on her flip-flopping. But she did have this to say over the weekend.
And eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
So I wonder where she got that idea, huh? Donald Trump's been talking about his desire to eliminate taxes on tips so long now that many people are starting to put it on their receipts. If they are in a place of business and they have a waiter or a waitress, I've seen it on several occasions. Actually, some of my friends I watched do it. No taxes on tips. Vote for Trump if you want no taxes on tips. Kamala is now discussing this concept of no taxes on tips. She is co-opting it, and the media is allowing her to get away with it. Now, that's fine. If Kamala Harris wants to give Donald Trump due credit for his policy idea that she is co-opting into her campaign, that's all good. Vice President Kamala Harris copied a campaign promise first announced by former President Donald Trump to eliminate taxation on tips. The same woman also voted in 2022 to pass legislation that allowed the IRS to track down workers' tips so that they could be taxed. Do not expect the mainstream media to go into this. On August 7th, 2022, Kamala Harris, as Vice President of the United States, cast the tie-breaking vote to pass the Inflation Reduction Act that has done nothing to reduce inflation. You cannot pour billions and billions and billions and billions of additional dollars that you're printing from the U.S. Treasury into the American economy and expect that to have a positive impact on high inflation. Economics do not work that way. Provided $80 billion in additional funding to the IRS alone. This would provide the IRS the resources to get to work cracking down on the service industry's reporting of tips so that they can be taxed. Kamala Harris's Facebook account, as a matter of fact, this, according to Breitbart, noted, 2 years ago today, I proudly cast the tie-breaking vote to pass our Inflation Reduction Act. On this vote, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 50, the Senate being equally divided. The vice president votes in the affirmative and the bill as amended is passed, Harris said in the August 7th, 2022 video. President Joe Biden's White House also boasted that the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which does not do anything to reduce inflation, by the way, provided $80 billion in additional funding to the IRS. In February of 2023, the IRS released a proposed revenue procedure known as the Service Industry Tip Compliance Agreement, or the SITCA program, the SITCA program. The agency described the program as, quote, a voluntary tip reporting program between the IRS and employers in various service industries that would include monitoring of employee compliance based on actual annual tip revenue and charge tip data from an employer's point-of-sale system and allowance for adjustment in tipping practices from year to year. According to the Americans for Tax Reform, there's no reason they'd be issuing guidance on how to crack down on this if it was only going to end up being voluntary. Ultimately, the goal is to go and grab as much revenue as possible from wherever they can. According to Mike Palitz, P-A-L-I-C-Z. I'm going to go with Mike Googly Moogly. According to Mike Googly Moogly of the Americans for Tax Reform, they told us they're not going to be coming after people earning less than $400,000. Here's a new IRS rule that's focused on bringing in tips from waitresses. Once again, the Biden-Harris regime depend on a dishonest media in order to lie with impunity. And now they've decided that this no taxes on tips idea is a good one, because it is, and it truly does affect the average Joe citizen, especially those of us who involve ourselves in the service industry from time to time. And for those of you who work in the service industry, it is a good idea. I think it's a better idea to stop taxing any income for people who are 65 and older and have started to taking Social Security, or better yet, stop. You can tax the income, that's fine. Stop taxing the Social Security. But here's an idea, and I learned this from, what was her name, Harriet, on the Brian Wilson show. She called in, and I want to say her name was Harriet. Might be something different. It might have been like Mildred. It was kind of an old school name. But she was like, why do they limit our ability to work when we're on Social Security? Which is a good question. Why do you limit the amount of money individuals can earn while on Social Security? Why not open that up? And I know that some of the responses basically involve, well, the government needs all of that money to continue to fund Social Security because they've spent so much of it, because it's a Ponzi scheme, basically. But obviously, Kamala Harris is trying to move into the populist realm by co-opting this idea. And she knows, and her campaign knows, that if they insulate themselves from the mainstream media, they will not have to answer the one-off question, wait a minute, did you not cast a tie-breaking vote 2 years ago that increased the IRS's ability to demand that waiters and waitresses report tips, and if they did not, they would be penalized by the Internal Revenue Service? So 2 years ago, in essence, you went after waiters and waitresses for more money on their tips. Now you have flip-flopped on this issue as well, and you were saying you're in favor of the Donald Trump idea that we're not going to tax tips. So not only are they going to wash over the idea that she stole it from or copied it or agreed with, let's use the nicest terminology. The Harris campaign is agreeing with the Trump team that this is something that we need to do. By the way, the Harris people could do it right now. I mean, aren't her people in the White House? What's stopping you, lady? Last week, it owned me, and I couldn't help it. And I know that I should be better than this, and I know that I should expect it. But she stood there on a stage and talked about what she was going to do to repair the economy when she became president of the United States. I'm like, what the hell turnip truck do you think we just fell off of? What coconut truck do you think we just fell off of? Oh, there's a good idea, 5070. Stop taxing overtime. Well, in order to stop taxing all of these elements of American society, we're going to have to stop spending so much money. And that's a topic that nobody is addressing, including the Trump team. And I think we need to hear more of it. James, you'll be first up next, 21 after the hour. Your call's coming up. Where do you believe we are? I asked this question in the first hour and did not get to many because I was so verbose. A lot of the pundits in the mainstream media want you to believe that Kamala Harris is well in the lead. I predicted that this would be the game plan from day one. You throw starving people scraps. They eat the scraps. They're appreciative of the scraps. They think they're living high on the hog. They think they've got it good. And then you present to the American public that the tide has turned in the election. Kamala Harris is well in the lead. You are attempting to gaslight Republican voters, conservative voters, into staying home. That is exactly what they're trying to do. Do not buy into this narrative. 615-737-9986. More coming up.
Former Memphis police officers, they appear before a judge today. And if you've had hassles getting a refund, well, the White House proposing ways to help you with that. We'll have those stories at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Jay Harper, Matt Murphy, and you until 3 o'clock this afternoon. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Show.
Hey, Matt.
Episode 629 is ongoing. Hello, Headless Bell.
You want to feel old?
Yeah, I saw something earlier that it is, there's just as much time between now and 1978 as there was between 1978 and like 1918 or something. What's yours?
33 years ago.
Oh, wait, let me guess. Hold on. Can I guess? 33 years. Wait, hold on. Where's my pen? Salesperson. You got to wash these sales weasels. They'll steal your stuff. I had a sales weasel in here, and she tried to steal my pen, but I got it back. 33 years ago would be 24 plus, hold on, I'll get it, plus 9. That would be 19 and 91. That about right?
Yeah. August 12th, 33 years ago, 1991, Metallica released the Black Album.
Oh, boy.
And it has since sold 31 million copies just in physical media alone.
I think that's going to make it. I think that's pretty good.
Maybe.
That's Inner Sandman, right?
Yeah.
It's good.
33 years, though.
Now you can hear them on the easy listening station.
Yeah.
33 years ago. I was about to be a freshman in college. August of 1991. Thank you, Belle. Thank you. I'm going to
feel old now.
Get my walker when we get out of here and going off to the Morrison's cafeteria for an old people dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Run you down to Brentwood Hearing so we can fine-tune your hearing aids.
My aids, I'm going to need it. James just left us, so James, I hate that. J.D. Vance was making the rounds on the weekend shows this weekend. Meantime, the Harris camp lied, or rather, I'm sorry, Tim Walz has been lying, and the Harris camp has now admitted that they've lied, and the media isn't really covering the admission. So if you missed it over the weekend, Kamala made the admission that that they misspoke, and during an interview with Dana Bash, J.D. Vance, I think this is the wrong clip here, but I'll play this clip for you. During the interview, J.D. Vance and Dana Bash had a back and forth about, quote unquote, well, they said that there was some misspeaking. Well, what is that? I remember when this happened. It was during the Clinton years when we began talking about getting caught in a lie as misspeaking. When Hillary Clinton claimed that she had to land her plane and that they were under enemy fire. And remember this? That she claimed that there was like fire in the belly of the plane to the point where they told the military personnel on the plane told the Clinton people to take their flak jackets off and sit on them so that the bullets did not come up through the plane and pierce her considerable buttocks. Right? Y'all remember that? And when she got caught, and like everybody on the plane said, no, that's not what happened at all. We were concerned that there might be some enemy activity in the area. So we made everyone aware that there might be. It turns out there wasn't any. When she got caught lying, the Clinton people said, well, she misremembered. She misremembered? Apparently, Tim Walz has done a lot of misremembering as well. And misremembering leads to admissions of misspeaking. You see, when you misremember something, you misspeak about it. I tell a lot of stories about my grandpa on this radio show because my grandfather was the finest man I ever knew that walked the earth. And Pa taught me something a long, long time ago when I was caught lying to him. And he said, your problem about this lying thing is you're going to keep getting caught because you don't have a good enough memory. You have to remember a lie. You don't have to remember the truth. And it is a fact that if I ask you about something in your past, you either remember it or you don't. if it is the truth. If I say, hey, did somebody tell me that you were under enemy fire? And you're like, well, no, I was never under enemy fire. Or if it actually happened, you say, yeah, they told us to take off our flak jackets and put our flak jackets under our seats for fear that we would be hit in the considerable Hillary Clinton buttocks. You don't remember that if it didn't happen. Now, you might not remember it if it did happen. Maybe it was so inconsequential in your life that you just happen to not remember it. You don't remember detailed things that never happened. And if you're going to lie about things, you better have a good memory because you have to remember that lie. You have to remember it how you told it. Joe Biden couldn't, Hillary Clinton couldn't, and Tim Walz can't either because he's been lying about his military service. Nobody besmirches his military service that I've heard of. Nobody. What we don't like are people that lie about it and steal valor, which is something apparently Tim Walz is doing. And now the Harris camp is admitting it by saying he misspoke. In other words, he lied. 131 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Back in a moment.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's 1:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine, 84 degrees of forecast coming up. In West Tennessee, 4 former Memphis police officers charged in the beating death of Tyree Nichols after a traffic stop. They go before a judge today. The pretrial hearing comes a month before trial on federal civil rights charges. The state trial for the ex-officers will be after that. The 4 former policemen, they pleaded not guilty to state charges, including second-degree murder and assault. Another former officer, however, pleaded guilty to federal and state charges and was recommended a 15-year prison sentence. The White House today says it's directing agencies to look at ways to prevent companies from putting up roadblocks to cancellations and refunds. ABC's Stephen Portnoy, he has more from D.C.
The multi-agency initiative targets burdensome requirements to cancel subscriptions or obtain refunds. The White House says those kinds of hurdles are often deliberately put in place to discourage customers from pursuing them. The rulemaking will involve agencies that regulate a wide range of businesses, from banks to online firms, with the ultimate goal of making it as easy to cancel a service as it is to order one.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Tennessee Men's Clinic is a one-stop shop for all things men's health, now in 2 locations in Middle Tennessee. For the last 10 years, they've had their location in Midtown, and Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped people in and around the Nashville area with their men's health. We're talking about checking numbers that you need to know about, man. I'm discussing T levels. I'm talking about your energy levels and why perhaps you've lost energy over the years. Qualified urologist will sit down with you. They'll talk with you. They'll put you through an examination, get a little blood work, figure out what's going on inside of your body and how they can create a solution for you to get you back to an energetic lifestyle, to get you back to a level of intimacy with your wife. If that's how it's manifesting it, and it does for a lot of men, you might be missing out on that intimacy. Well, it's time to get back, man, with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more. The 2 locations I mentioned, Cool Springs and right downtown in Nashville, Midtown, I should say, in Nashville. They're ready to see you. They're ready for that appointment at 615-208-9090. 615-208-9090. And when you call, be sure to tell them that Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Tennessee Men's Clinic.
commit to
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show is in progress. You're invited to be a part of it at any point during the proceedings. 137 right now. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. Bell, I know that you're on the X machine from time to time, anonymously often, but always there, lurking in the shadows, ready to troll at a moment's notice.
At a moment's notice.
Did you notice that Donald Trump's back?
Yeah, I did, actually, yeah.
Saw that myself.
I would bet you money that was probably a contingency that Elon put on him to do this interview tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I wouldn't say a contingency. I would say that that's an agreement.
Yeah, you come and support your boy, and your boy's going to support you.
Yeah, I came out and I announced after the assassination attempt on your life that I was all in.
Yeah,
that I was endorsing you. I want you on my platform. My platform's going to give you a multi-gajillion view hit, and you just need to do a few things on the old X machine.
It's going to be so big that even your haters are going to be watching.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, there's some coordinated efforts. It's pretty funny. There's some coordinated efforts to. We need to all log out of Twitter tonight at 7 o'clock Central Time, because that's when it's happening, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Middle Tennessee time. We're going to log out. We're going to show our displeasure. This thing is going to get astronomical numbers. Now, I don't talk about the number of impressions on the X machine because anytime somebody scrolls by a video, if you sit on it for like 3 seconds, it creates an impression. I don't know the exact algorithm, but for example, there are some posts on the X machine that get, 200 million views. And these are like 10 or 12 or 14-minute videos. I don't believe for a moment that 200 million people have watched a 14-minute video on the X machine. But they do scroll by. They impress at least a 3-second impression on them, and that's what counts as a view. But the impact of social media is tremendous. I find my own habits changing, where I don't watch network television. I watch live sporting events on occasion. I watch live newscast or live news broadcast because that is an occupational hazard. If I was not in this world, if I had the ability to check out of what I do on a day-to-day basis, I don't know that I would have that ability internally. But if I had that ability, I don't know that I would ever watch CNN again. CNN is a garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage. I watch specifically so you don't have to. It is an occupational hazard. So to suggest that CNN still has the influence of an X or even an Instagram? No. Or a Facebook, for good or bad, which is why we're so concerned about Facebook limiting the ability for truth to get out on their platform, because a lot of people use Facebook as a measure of what's going on in the world. So, yes, tonight, Donald Trump. Tonight, hot damn tonight. Donald Trump and Elon Musk will be live. It will be, so you'll be watching?
Well, I may not watch it live, but I'll probably watch sections of it on repeat.
What do you guys believe that Donald Trump, what do you want him to focus on? Do you want him, I mean, that's an open-ended question, and I kind of cast it out to the membersnutrition.com super text line. I'll be watching, and I expect I'll be watching live.
I'd like to see his response to the Democrats stealing his ideas. Because it's not just the tax on tips that they've taken. Mm-hmm. They tried to take the idea of Joe being a mental invalid, and they tried to push that onto Trump.
They're doing that right now. Yeah.
They're constantly taking things that the Republicans have used against them and going, oh, well, this will work in our favor too.
And by the way, Donald Trump made a mention that some of the screenshots of Kamala Harris's rally and her plane looks like AI.
Oh, being AI'd, yeah.
And now they're just destroying him about it on social media, and they're trying to destroy him about it on these platforms like CNN or whatnot. They focus on these smaller things. It's like J.D. Vance called Dana Bash out on it this weekend because she asked him 3 separate questions about his childless cat lady comment. And he goes, you want to focus, he said, for whatever reason, she won't come here to be with you on this television network. She won't sit down like I'm doing for 15 or whatever minutes and answer questions from you, yet you want to focus on an offhand, snarky, sarcastic remark that I made 3 years ago, and that's fine. I'll defend the comment, and I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm just amazed that that's all you seem to want to talk about. You don't want to talk about her flip-flop on the economy. You don't want to talk about her flip-flop on the inflation rate. You don't want to talk about her flip-flop on the border. You don't want to talk about her flip-flop on energy. You don't want to talk about her inability to make a decision about where she is on Israel and Hamas. All you want to talk about is some flip comments, and they're doing the same thing with this AI. By the way, some of those are AI.
Well, there's one that I specifically remember looking at going, there is no way they allowed that crowd to be that close to the plane.
No, it makes, and you, that's the same one where you see the reflection on the plane. Like the plane's real and they say that the people are photoshopped, and you see the reflection on the plane, and the reflection on the plane doesn't show people in front of the plane. It just shows
I'll have to go back and double check the one I'm thinking of and see.
Well, the one I'm thinking of, they circled the plane. And they say, "What do you see in this reflection?" And in the reflection, you just see an empty tarmac. One way or the other, it doesn't matter. It is an AstroTurf campaign right now. They are attempting to convince you that there's all of this enthusiasm. And I predicted it 2 weeks ago how this would go. It's their strategy. The leftist knew that they had a bad candidate. They knew that their base was depressed. They knew they weren't going to get turnout, and they sure as hell weren't going to get any new voters because of their awful policies over the last 4 years. So they swipe it from Joe. They invoke the 25th Amendment or threaten to invoke the 25th Amendment with Joe. They get a new candidate in Kamala. They couldn't skip her. They decided that they needed to completely reinvent her, and so they did. And they're in the midst of that right now. So the game plan is you cannot present Kamala Harris in front of reporters, because if you do, they will necessarily have to ask questions that are uncomfortable for the campaign. So they are hiding her in plain sight. She only goes out in scripted events, and sure, the enthusiasm is there. I understand that there's a level of enthusiasm. I don't believe that it translates to the polling numbers that they've seen. But the people that are voting for Kamala Harris, the socialist in this country, yeah, they're excited because they've got a candidate that may have a shot at making it to November instead of one that's already halfway in the grave. I mean, Joe Biden's got a foot in the grave and one on a banana peel. So, of course, they're excited about that. Well, now you're raising the level of excitement and enthusiasm, or you're suggesting that it's more than it really is. You're not taking any questions about the flip-flops, because the idea is to repair the candidate. I've been calling it for a while now, the reclamation of candidate zero. Did you see the Time magazine? You probably didn't, because nobody watches Time magazine or nobody pays attention to Time magazine or reads the rag anymore. I don't know that they actually publish it anywhere but online, but I saw it over the weekend. I call it the reclamation of candidate zero. Time magazine from August 12th, 7 a.m. this morning. Title of the article, The Reintroduction of Kamala Harris. So, they're admitting it. They have to reclaim her, they have to repair her record, and they have to reintroduce her to the American people, all fresh, shiny, and new, as if she's not currently the vice president. They are running this election cycle, and the mainstream press allows them to get away with it. They're running this election cycle as if you have it's just a vacant seat. No one is actually there, and both of these candidates are new to the game. It's disconcerting, to say the least. J.D. Vance spoke to Dana Bash. He will present himself before the American people, and he had this to say over the weekend.
And I'm doing this because I think that me being vice president will help improve people's lives. So I accept their attacks, but I think that it is a little bit of projection, Dana. If you think about, just take a couple of days ago. Tim Walz gives this big speech. He's been announced as the VP nominee. And I remember when I had just been announced as the VP nominee, I gave my big speech, and I saw my wife, and I gave her a big hug and a kiss, because I love my wife, and I think that's what a normal person does. Tim Walz gave his wife a nice, firm Midwestern handshake, and then tried to sort of awkwardly correct for it. So I think that what it is two people, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who aren't comfortable in their own skin because they aren't comfortable with their policy positions for the American people. And so they're name-calling instead of actually telling the American people how they're going to make their lives better. I think that's weird, Dana, but look, they can call me whatever they want to.
So she had asked him, they call you weird. Does anyone actually believe that conservatives or Republicans or libertarians are the weird ones? I mean, maybe a little bit on the libertarian side of things. We accept that as a badge of honor. But these...
That's actually very true.
I mean, it is true.
It's like when they say that about us, it's like,
yes, thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm a little weird. I'm a little goofy. I like to say that I hope that you agree with me most of the time, but if you agree with me all the time, you've got a little something going on, because I'm crazy. I'm a little crazy.
I genuinely don't want to be looked at by the establishment people as being average. I'm against what you're for.
But the weirdest thing, you want to talk about weird, the point is the weirdest thing about the press's coverage and their current behavior is that they have conveniently and intentionally forgotten that Joe Biden is still president and Kamala Harris is still vice president. They have conveniently and decidedly and on purpose forgotten that they are currently running the show. The entire campaign during the month of August has been run and treated as if it's a competition for a currently vacant White House. Now, I can make the argument that it is a vacant White House. But when Kamala Harris is standing out there proclaiming what she's going to do when she takes over, what are you talking about?
But it's such an odd way to position it, because in certain instances, they're trying to pitch her based on her incumbency as the vice president. And then in other instances, it's like, this is fresh face. This is brand new blood.
Well, the old school saying goes that if you're going to give it to me both ways, I'll take it. If you're going to treat me as both and it's good for me both ways, I'll take it both ways. If you're not going to correct the record, then, the Harris folks know that the media is on her side. And so they know they have the benefit of a lack of correction, and they get an opportunity to say anything they want. anything they want. 615-737-9986. We'll get to David in Nashville and your calls as well. 150 on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I mentioned that I talked with and met with and sat down and broke bread with JK and Erica over the weekend at U.S. Pest. I love these guys. I love what they've done for their community through U.S. Pest. I love how they believe in their community, and they love the people that they get to meet all across the Middle Tennessee region. And I want you to be as well protected regarding pests as you possibly can. You know, I mentioned, we were joking around about the honey. I mean, they understand bees and they understand bugs and they understand the those types of insects and bugs that create a positive atmosphere around your home, like bees that pollinate the flowers, that make the flowers go boom and make everything pretty. And they also understand the bad ones, you know, the spiders and the ants and the ladybugs and the mice and the silverfish and the roaches and so much more. You need to understand all aspects of insects and bugs in order to understand what to do in a proper and informed way to get rid of the bad ones, to keep around the good ones, because there, believe it or not, are some good ones. Common Tennessee pests like termites, brown recluse spiders, ticks, fire ants, they are not going anywhere, folks. You need to manage it on your property. You need to protect your grounds and protect your home. They have crawl space services. JK was telling me about some advancements that I can't speak of right now. He swore me to secrecy that I'm very excited about when it comes to crawl space service. We'll launch that coming up very, very soon. Moisture barrier solutions and 100% money-back guarantee on their crawl space and bug services down there. Full service pest control with U.S. Pest. USPest.com. That's USPest.com. Or give them a call today and tell them I sent you. 590-1260. That's 615-590-1260. Matt Murphy and U.S. Pest.
The U.S. commenting today on the increasing coziness between Iran and Russia. A country music star's court appearance has been delayed, and a Gallatin man, he's been charged in the Sunday shooting death of a teenager. We'll have those stories at 2 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. It is the Matt Murphy Show. Another hour to go once we get to the newscast, coming up in just a couple of minutes. Your telephone calls, as always, 615-737-9986. You can also jump in on the membersnutrition.com super text line. Bell K, does the name Rachel Gunn mean anything to you? Rachel, R-A-C-H-A-E-L, Rachel, Gunn, G-U-N-N.
I feel like it should, but no, it doesn't.
I'm going to give you a hint. She has been a part of the Olympic Games.
I haven't watched any of the Olympics.
Ray Gunn.
She calls herself Ray Gunn.
Like Ronald?
Well, like Rachel Gunn. It's a shortening of her own name. She is, she's into breaking.
Break dancing?
That's what we used to call it, Belle. We call it breaking now. Have you seen the video of her?
No.
It is breaking. Speaking of breaking, it's breaking the internet. It is, I'm trying to find, I saw a quote of hers that I'm trying to find out if it's true or not, where she was quoted as saying that, because a lot of people are picking on her because she doesn't seem to know how to break dance. And she was Australia's entry into the breakdancing competition at the Olympics, which shouldn't be a part of the Olympics anyway. And she said, joke's on y'all. Some people spend all of their lives preparing to compete at the highest levels. I trained for 37 minutes, and nobody's talking about anything other than my breakdancing routine. Now, I don't know if this is a real quote or not. I'm trying to track it down. You can be duped online about some of this stuff. But if that's real, she's my new hero, if that quote is real. Here comes Jay Harper with the news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're up to 85 degrees now with all that sunshine. Your weather forecast is coming up. State Department Principal Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel during today's State Department briefing saying the U.S. is aware of reports that Iran is planning to deliver ballistic missiles to Russia. Patel saying the U.S. is admittedly concerned about the deepening security partnership between those two countries.
It is not just a threat to European security, it's a threat to Middle East security, but it's also shows that Iran's destabilizing influences has reached beyond the Middle East region, and that should be of concern to the entire world.
Back here in Music City, country music star Morgan Wallen, he will not appear in court this week. A judge has granted him a continuance in his case until December. The hearing was originally scheduled for August the 15th. It's now been moved to December 12th. Wallen is charged with several counts of felony, reckless endangerment, and disorderly conduct charges for throwing a chair from the roof of Eric Church's bar earlier this year. The chair landed about 3 feet away from a few cops who were standing on the sidewalk. Wallen has spoken out about the incident that happened back on April 7th, saying that he's not proud of his behavior. And staying here in Middle Tennessee, police have charged a man for the death of a 16-year-old at the residences at Gallatin apartment complex last night. Police say Adrian Wilkerson, he confronted a 16-year-old about breaking into cars. The teen tried to run, but Wilkerson, according to police, then shot and killed the teenager. Wilkerson is charged with second-degree murder. Police are asking anyone if they have any information or may have witnessed all this to please call Gallatin Police. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
I was speaking of the Olympic Games, which have now concluded, it's my understanding. Well, if there were an Olympic Games regarding spices, all of the gold medals would go to Savory Spice. It's just that simple. Friends, let's talk about Savory Spice for a moment. 2 locations to serve you. One's in L&L Market. That's on Charlotte Pike in Nashville. Convenient to all of you in and around the Nashville area. Now, if you're down south, Franklin is your location, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Folks, Savory Spice simply does it better than any. You go to a big box store, you go to the big grocery, and they've got the spice section. It's what they do at Savory Spice. Well, I say that. They have some great grilling ideas. They've got some great food ideas. They've got popcorn sprinkle. They've got the Spice and Easy line of product where all of the spices are right there available for you to make a delicious meal for you and your family. I invite you to do all of this at Savory Spice. Up your food game by upping your spice game. Up your spice game at Savory Spice. And if you're looking to lose a few lbs, the best way to do that, frankly, and I've done it for years, when I try to lose weight, you spice up. Certain weight loss foods are just bland, and you can spice those up with Savory Spice, and they taste better. That's all I'm saying. Savory Spice. Go see Holly David, locally owned, locally operated. Glad to have them in the community and glad to be a part of Savory Spice. Up your food game at Savory Spice. Here we are, and here we go. It's hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time flies when you're having fun, and I've been having a ball today. Hope you have as well. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. 615-737-9986. Yours truly behind the microphone and behind the glass is Bel K, screening all your telephone calls, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. We're broadcasting on a number of different platforms for you. For your information and edification. You can dial us up on the radio dial, 99.7 FM, from Southern Kentucky to Northern Alabama and all points in between. Of course, there is the internet streaming sites. Any site of your choosing, just type us up and look us up, and there we are, and off we go. If we're not there, tell us, and we'll get there. And then Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. I'm doing my best Nick Nolte impersonation today, wearing my Hawaiian shirt, with my hair all fluffed out and looking kind of crazy. I am not nearly as drunk as he was in the mugshot, but I do my best. I'm being told, we made mention of this Rachel Gunn, Ray Gunn, who, I don't know if you would say made a mockery of the breaking competition, but she obviously was less enthusiastic and less able to compete in the fashion that some of these people doing the, quote, breaking were competing. But I am told, and I have nothing other than the membersnutrition.com super text line to go by on this because I wasn't really paying any attention necessarily, but apparently the 2028 Olympics will not include the sport of breaking. That this was a one-off, and it has been decided that we will not be bringing breaking to L.A. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but there's in all seriousness, there's an athleticism that goes on here, but everything that involves a certain level of athleticism, it doesn't have to be an Olympic sport. And Christine, it's a sport in the same way. Here's what I would tell you. Christine says, how is that a sport? I hesitate to do this because I might be defending it. Or it might come off as I'm defending it. I don't defend any of this stuff. I'm just telling you, it's as much a sport as the floor exercise in gymnastics, isn't it? So if you ask me how is breaking a sport, I would say, okay, have you watched what they do? Like, this isn't old school, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 1989, twirling on your back, doing the turtle on your back kind of thing. This is... Man, oh, man.
Do we still have synchronized swimming in the Olympics?
Yes.
Okay, that's not a sport either. That's stupid.
You know what I've never understood?
Me?
Well, that. You talk the synchronized sports, like at what point, like you and me, Bell, we're sitting on poolside, we're coaching, or we're watching a competition of diving, for example. We're watching the 10-meter platform dive competition. And you look over at me and say, you know what would make this perfect, Murph? And I say, what? Yeah, 2 dudes doing this at the same time. At the exact same time. Or 2 chicks. You know what would really make this swimming competition better? If we got like 12 people out there and they were doing the exact same crap.
I saw this in like a really old movie one time, and it was awesome.
Johnny Weissmuller and whatever who was the swimming chick? I can't remember. I'm proud to note that I can't remember. I shouldn't have remembered Johnny Weissmuller either. But
hey, come on, man. Tarzan.
I mean, this springboard diving is great, but if we could get 2 chicks that look really similar to one another out here doing those flippy flips in sync, now that would be something to watch.
It's no longer called synchronized swimming. Did you know that?
I did not. Jay
Yes,
Harper.
it is now being referred to as artistic swimming.
Okay, so that's what the group does in the pool. Did you see those communists doing that? The Chinese? Oh my goodness!
No.
I caught some of that. That was freaky.
By the way, you were trying to think of Esther Williams.
Thank you, Jay Harper. Dated reference, lost on younger listeners. Yeah. Esther Williams. I love that. That's good. Look, these are competitions. Obviously, they're not sports. So before I start knocking on break, and I didn't watch enough of it to really know. But I know there's athleticism involved, but there's athleticism involved in a lot of things that we don't make, quote unquote, a sport. I mean, 3392 said, I almost made the cut for air guitar. Man, it's a heavy competition there. I watched some of the breaking as well as there was rock wall climbing? What? Come on, man. Are you kidding? How do you even I don't know how you judge those things. John writes in and says, Esther Williams, she was pretty funny on Sanford and Son. I think that's a different Esther. I'm thinking that's a different Esther. But Aunt Esther was proud. Watch it, sucker. You old fish-eyed fool. Watch it, sucker. Hallelujah. Great googly moogly. So the leftist strategy is coming into full focus. And now the same leftist media who have been applauding Kamala Harris being out and about on the campaign trail, she's not made one effort to sit down in a one-on-one interview, actually said one of the more insulting comments that has been made on a campaign trail in a long time. She actually said, we're thinking about that. We're going to try to get something scheduled by the end of the month. By the end of the month? She said this last week. She said it on August 9th. By the end of the month? Ma'am, there's less than 3 months to go. And look at hashtag Never CNN. As I speak, they're talking about the economic policies touted by Harris. And what was number 1 on that list? Did you see it, Mel?
Yeah, tax on tips.
Eliminating taxes on tips. Do you think, while I'm not hearing what they're saying right now with regard to Kamala Harris is hunkering down in Washington, D.C. with 1 week to go before the Democrat National Convention, why does she need to hunker down anywhere before the National Convention?
Why is it that they're taking one of Trump's
biggest campaign
policies when Orange Man bad? I thought everything Trump did was poison.
Well, they've decided that they can co-opt it into their own, and I'm telling you, it will not be long. I predicted this at the beginning of the show. Chris Hand and I were talking about this during the break or during the cross. How long before the mainstream media, someone in the mainstream media is going to claim that Trump stole it from her? Watch. They'll just do it.
Absolutely.
Because they don't care. Well, Trump has started talking about taxes on tips now that Kamala Harris was discussing it, despite the fact that Trump has been touting this for the last several months.
You know, the last thing listed on that visual they were showing was that she was going to take on, quote unquote, unfair rent increases. Who decides what's fair?
You don't want a government that gets to set prices nationwide on rent. Do you want a government that heavy-handed into the free market?
You've already seen what happens with that in New York and San Francisco and, you know, all these places with rent control. It just decimates the supply of housing.
7721 is predicting that there will not be any presidential debates. There, I'm calling it, says Buck. I don't know. I think she's boxed in on the one on the 10th, the ABC debate, because she was like, when's Trump going to debate? Why he? Ha, 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 he's running for me. And, of course, Trump was always going to agree to it and has now proposed 2 other debates, and they will not agree to those 2 other debates. She will do as little of that as possible. She keeps talking, and Steve is correct, and this goes to the focus of my irritation. She continues to discuss what she's going to do on day one as if she currently does not enjoy the vice presidency of the United States of America, and the media just allows her to go along with it. They're pretending as if the seat in the White House is vacant. They're pretending as if Joe Biden, you know, was a term-limited president. They're pretending like Joe Biden didn't get the boot. They're pretending that Joe Biden didn't want to continue his campaign for the presidency and was told by people like Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, who's running the show, that he can no longer continue. Listen to this. This is what we're talking about. When she runs like this, why in the world is she not doing it now? She is the vice president of the current presidential administration. Why is the media not calling out this garbage in real time? Here's Kamala Harris talking about inflation.
Because while our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. You know it and I know it. You know, when I was Attorney General, I went after price-fixing schemes. And when I am president, it will be a day one priority to fight to bring down prices. I will take on big corporations that engage in illegal price gouging.
All right, so first off, a couple of things to unpack. What big corporations are engaging in illegal price gouging? What ones is she talking about? Would she like to name those corporations, please? What big corporations are currently engaging in a price gouging scheme? What is price gouging? I have fought this fight for 25 years. The government should have nothing to do with how I set prices on my goods or my services. Nothing. The government is there to regulate a level playing field. I should not be able to circumvent the natural order of the free market in my business in order to upset the apple cart for Bell. In other words, I should not be able to collude. If Bell and I are in the business of making omelets and Jay Harper is our egg salesman, what I should not be allowed to do is pay off Jay and say, hey, Jay, I want you to charge Bell more for eggs so that he has to charge more for his omelets so that I can run him out of business. And I'm going to pay you under the table until such time as he's out of business, and then we'll figure it out from there. That's an illegal activity. But if Bell and I are fairly competing in the open market and I decide I'm going to charge you $12 for an omelet and he's going to charge you $6 for an omelet, well, let the chips fall where they may. What amazes me is how many people decide that they don't care for the free market very much when they actually need something. And I'm talking about natural disasters. It is an unfortunate consequence of human emotion that after natural disasters like hurricanes, we run to the government and beg for repair from the government. Please declare a state of emergency so that this company can't charge me more for water or this company can't charge me more for gasoline, when you necessarily have to because of the limited amount of supply in that particular environment.
And not only that, they never take into account the fact that higher prices slow consumption.
Yes.
They're designed to. So if you want to slow the consumption, if you want to stop the rich people from just coming in and quote unquote taking everything, You raise the prices, you make it more expensive to buy, and it slows down everybody from buying it, so it's not getting hoarded by one rich guy.
And if you want to, and it's a fight that I've been having for a long time, and I understand that it's the difference between emotion of the moment and economic theory. But the economic theories and the realities of the economics of this situation don't change whatsoever. Just go read Milton Friedman. He understands it far better than I ever would, and he's dead.
You got to remember, though, that that's one of the people that Joe loves to vilify.
Oh, sure he does. And Kamala, too, because they believe that the government is there to swoop in and, quote, protect you. When the government engages in price gouging protections, especially when there's not a... And look, I've given up the idea of fighting the fight against price gouging legislation when there's a declaration of an emergency. I've given that up because the emotions are too great, and it's difficult to help people see the reason and the reasoning behind allowing the free market to do its business and do not allow the government to interfere with said free market during an emergency circumstance. But when you don't have an emergency circumstance and the government begins price fixing, the government is eventually going to take over the means of production. That is socialism. Well, it starts as fascism when they demand that the private sector not only fix their prices but give their profits to the federal government or the government at large. But it becomes socialism because you eventually take over the means of production with regard to that individual company that you are setting the prices for, because the price fixing doesn't work in the free market. And I just want to know who's doing all this price gouging.
Because while our economy is doing well by many measures, prices for everyday things like groceries are still too high. You know it and I know it. You know, when I was Attorney General, I went after price-fixing schemes. And when I am president, it will be a day one priority to fight to bring down prices.
Okay, two things on this one, and I'll let her finish. Two things. Number one, what are you talking about price-fixing schemes for? Because you cannot blame the Inflation Reduction Act. You will not blame the policies of the Biden administration that led to the inflation. So you have to find an enemy. So she's making this, I almost said it. She's making this garbage up. She's making this crap up about price fixing so that she creates an enemy that we have to slay.
She needs somebody to deflect to.
She has to blame
say, well, your administration caused this.
Well, no, it's the big companies and the big corporations that are price gouging.
You know, something else that she does with regularity whenever she tweets, it's always, President Biden and I, we took on this. We did that. Mm-hmm. Well, first off, the only power she has is to break ties in the Senate. Mm-hmm. That's the constitutionally limited power of a vice president. But it's funny how she's constantly taking credit for things she has no real input in on. But then when it comes time to fix a problem, well, that's got to wait till I'm president.
Well, but and that's what's amazing to me is that while she has no specific constitutional authority, we've been told for years, Joe tells us repeatedly that Kamala's the last person in the room. Has she not been a part of this decision-making that's led to what we're dealing with right now? Why doesn't she do something now? If there are companies that are currently gouging customers, why does the Vice President of the United States of America not do something about it now? Not tomorrow, not after breakfast, right now. Why doesn't she do something to protect the customer and the consumer right now? Because she's making this garbage up. And sadly, a lot of the country believes it. It's 2:22 on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and let me tell you, have you lost some of your hair, man? Especially you gentlemen in the listening audience. You know, my hair, I had a little thinning on the crown, and I did something about it. I went to PAI Medical. I talked to the We Grow Hair people. Did you know, I learned from them at WeGrowHair.com, by the way, that you can lose up to 50% of your hair before you actually notice it. Now, I thought that my hair was thinning around the crown, and I wanted to do something about it, so I called We Grow Hair. They have well over 30 years experience exclusively in hair restoration. They can restore your hair right now by dialing up 615-376-6010. That's 376-6010. Now, I'm getting their FDA-approved laser treatment to make sure that my hair is as thick as it can be, as full as it can be, and to prevent further hair loss. Now, you can see, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, especially thanks to Locks for Trump, day 163, that my hair growth it's on point. Well, I thank the We Grow Hair people. For a free consultation to talk about their ARTIS robotic FUE hair transplant procedure or any of the other procedures that they offer, give them a call or go online to WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com or 615-376-6010. That's 376-6010 for We Grow Hair.
President Biden may be a so-called lame duck, but he claims he's still working hard on a ceasefire deal in the Middle East. And a Nashville woman, she's in big trouble for shining a laser at a police helicopter. We'll have those stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. It is 2:27. I don't know why I allow these lefties in the mainstream media to annoy me as much as I do, but I'm going to keep on it like a dog on a bone. I encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to keep after it, keep moving forward, and don't allow the lies to impact you. How many of you, I'm curious, how many of you, by telephone call, 615-737-9986, are planning on watching Trump and Musk tonight, 7 o'clock Central Time, Middle Tennessee time, as they take to the X machine? I'm very excited. We invite those of you who are fundamentally against Elon Musk and or Donald Trump, and you've got your lips pooched out about all of this, and you want to somehow performatively cast your aspersions by logging off, please do so. And the reason you know why I say that, right, Bill? Because I think the internet's going to crash tonight. I think the X machine might crash tonight.
Yeah, I fully expect that to happen. I mean, even with they're doing additional prep, but there's going to be some glitches.
Yeah, I mean, you would think. I mean, I would expect that there's not been I'm trying to think. There's probably not been a moment where.
Dude.
What?
Thierry Breton from the EU has put out a tweet saying that they expect Elon Musk to censor Trump because of the quote-unquote misinformation that he's going to spew. And
What?
Elon responded with a meme from Tropic Thunder of Tom Cruise holding a phone, and he says, take a big step back and literally F your own face.
I didn't know. Why? Wait, so who is expecting Elon? Are they joking?
No,
That's
it's an actual email, or not, an actual letter that was sent to Elon from the European Commissioner for Industry and Services.
What type of person? It's a sincere question. Even if you hate Trump, and I know that it's difficult for those of you who do, to get beyond that, to try to examine your thoughts and feelings on this question I'm about to pose honestly and openly. If you think, who told you? I can't even get the question out. Who told you that it's the government's job to manage misinformation? Who told you that?
The government.
The government is the right answer, Bill. Where did you get the idea that if the government is given the ability to manage information / misinformation, because by necessity, you dunderheads, if they manage misinformation, they are declaring what is good information and what is not. How in the hell do you think we will be allowed to continue to criticize the government for any reason if they're the ones that decide which information gets disseminated and which information gets spiked? Venezuela just jailed 2,000 people. Maduro put 2,000 people in jail. We don't know how many people they killed because we can't get that information out of that country. Why? Because they control the information. It is 2:31. Before I get too heated, let's let Jay Harper step in here with some news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 2:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, 85 degrees. The weather forecast is just mere moments away. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre during her press briefing today saying President Biden has still been forging ahead with his effort to end the conflict between Israel and Gaza.
President Biden spoke today with France, Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom to discuss the situation in the Middle East and ongoing efforts to de-escalate tensions and reach a ceasefire and hostage deal in Gaza.
Shifting now to the Nashville area, Fox 17 News reporting that Metro Police have arrested a woman for assault after she pointed a laser at officers flying a helicopter. 43-year-old Amanda McDonald is facing 2 counts of aggravated assault on police officers for aiming a laser beam at the cockpit of a Metro helicopter as it was passing over Cheyenne Boulevard in the Madison area. She also has 3 probation violations from this not-so-smart incident. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I've not done my part to protect my hearing over the years. Thankfully, if you are in the boat with me and you're concerned about your hearing, I have a company for you, and it's Brentwood Hearing. Do your challenges hearing conversations keep you on the sidelines when you're having dinner with your family or friends? I want to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. For almost 40 years now, Ronnie and the team of doctors of audiology have provided tailored solutions to patients of all ages. Hearing loss doesn't know an age, right? I mean, it happens to younger folks and older folks. It is primarily happening to our older generations because, well, after all, we abuse our ears, and sometimes that comes back to bite us on the tuchus. And a lot of folks wait years before addressing their hearing issues. Brentwood Hearing represents several different styles and manufacturers. They can find just what's right for you and find the right hearing solution for you. So give my friends a call at 615-377-0420. That's 377-0420, or visit them online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. I've stopped in with Ronnie and the team and made a visit, and I hope you do as well. Get back in the game. Get back to life with Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing for a better life. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, during these times, and we are just fast approaching Election Day, before you know it, it will be September, then October, and I mean, it is on from now until November 5th. Obviously, that is the case. By the way, it's the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So during these times, it has been my experience, sometimes we lose sight of certain local stories that are going on right in front of us, and there's just so much. It's like a fire hose of information. And I try to catch as many of those as I possibly can. I just noticed this local story that I'm curious if you parents who are sending your kids back to school are aware of. As I am parentless. I'm one of those childless cat ladies that J.D. Vance likes to talk about. So we're not as aware of when kids are going back. But kids are back, right? I mean, for the most part, Bell, do you know? Yeah, Jay Harper's shaking his head. Jay would know. For the most part, they're back.
That is correct. And in fact, Clarksville, they started back today.
Well, there you go.
But most of the other systems started last week.
I mean, I don't want to be that old guy, but let's be that old guy for a minute, Jay. I mean, when we were youngsters, I mean, it was Labor Day, right?
Yeah. Usually the Tuesday after Labor Day.
Yeah, we did. For some reason, I remember growing up in my middle school and high school years, we did the week before Labor Day because it was always kind of cool. I mean, we would get excited. We'd go a week, and then we would get that Monday off. And then we're like, well, it's already a day off. Woohoo, 3-day weekend.
Then after that, you're staring at the calendar looking for the next day off.
And it didn't,
waiting on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because that's exactly right. Because we didn't have any fall break back then. It was Labor Day and I guess, yeah. When's Columbus Day?
It's in October.
I think we got Columbus Day off. I think. But I can't remember if we did or not. I think we did. I think we got Columbus Day off. And then, you're not getting Halloween off, I'll tell you that. You got to wait until and when we were first going, you didn't get Friday off either. Now, don't the kids get Friday off of Thanksgiving week now? I think they do.
Yeah, the day after Black Friday. Yeah, the day after. Yeah.
I don't remember getting that Friday off. Maybe we did. I don't recall getting that Friday off. I recall having to go back to school, but my memory could be faulty on that front. As students head back to school, Governor Bill Lee is now saying that changes may be needed to a new law he signed this year, requiring nurses to get parental consent before offering students bandages or ice packs. Now, I'm reading this from an article in the Tennessean. Teachers also have to get parental consent before using voice recorders for start-of-year English language proficiency examinations. The state law passed this year is aimed at protecting parental rights, requiring schools to obtain written or verbal consent from parents for things including before offering any type of non-emergency medical treatment or counseling, before making any kind of video or audio recording of a student. Providers who fail to get parental consent can have their licenses revoked or suspended, and the new law also empowers parents to sue. As children return to school, school nurses, according to the article from the Tennessean, and teachers of English learners in several counties are delaying services pending consent. Nurses are being directed not to provide non-emergency care to students at school without first obtaining parental consent. Guidance sent to school nurses at Metro Nashville, for example, and you know what they're going to do, right? They're going to take the exceptions to try to nullify the rule. They're going to find those examples that they can point to say, see, this is ridiculous. And they're going to try to destroy the rule in its entirety when the rule itself makes a lot of sense. Parents need to be aware of what's happening within the school system. Parents need to be aware if their child is getting counseling regarding wanting to change their pronouns. Parents need to know if that sort of thing's going on or any other thing is going on at school. And sadly, they can't depend that government school is going to tell them what's going on with their kids anymore. Hell, you saw what just happened in California. In California, it is now a state law that school teachers do not have to tell the parents, and I think may not.
Actually, yeah, it's may not.
It's may not tell the parents. That the school systems are not allowed to tell the parents if the kid, if your young son Joe goes to school and in his backpack he's got a dress and some makeup and he changes over to Jill and he wants to reaffirm that identity with his school teachers and guidance counselors, they are not permitted to tell you. What the hell? I mean, that went so far that was one of the moments that Elon Musk said, I'm getting all of my stuff out of California, and rightly so. Guidance sent to school nurses in the Metro Nashville public school system requires them to check if parental consent is on file while talking through students' ailments. If a parental consent form is not on file, they'll have to seek parental consent before offering care. If a parent has marked no on a consent form, nurses will then have to attempt to get in touch with parents for non-urgent and potentially urgent matters. I love the verbiage of the Tennessean article. Potentially urgent. They have a headache. It could be a tumor. What if it's a tumor? It's not a tumor. If it is determined that the student is well enough, then the student can either contact the parent or ask the front office staff to call the parent. Do not delay care for anyone that could potentially become urgent or emergent. Emergent?
When I was a kid, I remember my last 3 years of high school were in Florida, and I remember at the start of the school year in 10th grade, my mother had to sign a form that allowed for corporal punishment. So why would they not just give this to the parent up front and say, do we have your permission to give your child non-emergency care if needed?
So you have counties that are taking this law and doing what you're talking about, Bell, going, okay, we understand the genesis behind the law. We need to keep parents informed of what's going on in the school system. Okay, so let's send out a form at the front end of school. There's either a want to accomplish this goal attitude or a we don't want this in front of us attitude. And certain school systems, like the Metro Nashville public school system, has taken a we don't want to do this attitude. It is none of your parents' business what we're doing in our school systems attitude. Or, sadly, even more direct to the point, they can't get a hold of the parents if they wanted to. Because, unfortunately, a lot of parents have decided that the school system is also a babysitter. You send out a note, you ask for a blanket opportunity. If you don't get it, then you have to call on a one-on-one basis. It's not that hard. It's not as hard as they're making it. Williamson County delayed start of year English language screeners because of the new requirement. According to a new email sent to teachers prior to the beginning of the week, teachers of English learners are now working with parents' consent or working to get that same consent before administering the proficiency test because they have to do so before offering an audio recording of the students. Parents at Metro Nashville Public Schools are being asked to sign a new consent form seeking permission to offer non-emergent medical care. This is maybe the first time that I've used the word emergent with regard to medical care, and every time I say it, I think of my lawn. You know, because you put on that non-emergent during the winter months.
Did you take care of the lawn last weekend?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Man, it grows faster in the summer. Let's see. Matthew Peters, a spokesperson for the Nashville Metro Department of Health, which oversees the school health division, says the full extent of the law's impact remains to be seen. Our team of talented school health nurses will continue to offer the best care to each student in accordance with all of the state and federal laws. Tennessee Department of Health confirmed that due to the new law, public health clinics will no longer offer teenage patients routine care such as birth control, treatment of sexually transmitted infection, or pregnancy test without parental consent. Previously, teens 14 years old or above could access contraception and other primary health services. I guess, what is that now to the age of majority, which is 17 in Tennessee? If your 15-year-old was sexually active and was running to the health department, wouldn't you want to know? I would think you would want to know. I think we need a system of government that empowers parents to be parents and encourages parents to be parents again, as opposed to what we've seen over the last 20 or 30 years, and that is more and more parents just abdicating that responsibility to the school system itself. No, thank you. Hello, Philip. Good afternoon. Welcome in. How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm great. What's on your mind?
Well, I had a little information on the thing you're talking about there.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the counties are lumping them together. If you sign to allow for first aid, there is a second paragraph on the same form with no separation that allows for counseling. If you do not sign that, for like seniors and stuff like that, going into college, getting college class counseling and all that, they're not allowed to attend.
Wait, I missed something. They're not allowed to attend?
Correct. If you did not sign that form, and they're having the example I saw on the internet was if they're having the college admissions assistance in an English class, they cannot attend that English class because there's counseling going on.
Okay, because of the counseling component, not because of an audio or video recording component. Because
Correct.
of the counseling. Okay. Well, I mean, then I encourage. I mean, I don't mean to be so flip about this. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Philip. But any aspect of encouraging parents to be more involved in the education of their children, I think, is a good thing.
Well, absolutely, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, so.
But the problem is, the school board is taking this and flipping it around and telling you you're going to fail if your parents don't allow us to give you counseling. You're going to fail. It seems to me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they didn't separate the basic first aid from the counseling and wearing dresses and all that, whatever else that that's entail.
I tell you what, we're gonna. This is a good opportunity to follow up this discussion. Thank you, Philip. We can't do it tomorrow, Bell, because we have a special guest coming in studio at 1. But sometime this week, and I've got a guest coming in at 2:00 on Thursday that I haven't told you about. But sometime this week, let's get Representative Scott Sapicki. He's always our go-to when it comes to educational matters. He can come on
texting us.
Yeah, he can come on and explain to us the intent of the law and explain to us the solution to some of these issues that have popped up as a result of the law. We'll do that at some point this week.
Okay.
615-737. Well, don't worry about those telephone numbers because we're running out of time. Speaking of guests tomorrow, Stuart Parks will be in studio with us tomorrow at 1 p.m. If you don't know who Stuart is, Stuart was jailed as a part of his role in the January 6th situation that developed in and outside of the United States Capitol. I'm not going to tell you more of Stuart's story because he's going to tell you his story tomorrow. He was jailed in a federal facility. He was put in prison for, I think, 6 months as a result of his quote-unquote participation in the January 6th riots. He did not participate in the riots. He barely participated in the event, but he's put in jail anyway. He is one of our political prisoners with regard to January 6th, and we're going to talk to him about his experience coming up tomorrow in studio at 1 p.m. Looking forward to that. Stuart Parks in studio at 1 o'clock. Brian Wilson coming up next to find out what's happening on the drive. That's after this. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for USS, which stands for United Structural Systems. Friends, it's as simple as this. Your house, it will settle over time. Your house obviously is going to settle either correctly or properly or improperly. And if it's improperly, that's going to lead to some telltale signs that we talk to you all the time when discussing USS. Those cracks in the masonry joints that you might see in the basement or the crawl space. What about doors sticking or windows sticking? This is settling that could lead to future problems down the road. Right now at USS, they are offering a back-to-school promotion by which you get any job over $2,500, a 10% off discount just by calling up and saying, hey, I want the back-to-school promotion Matt Murphy told me about on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Plus, with financing, they have same-as-cash options available for you with no payment, no interest for 1 year. This ends on August 30th, so it's going to be done before you know it. It is not to be combined with any other coupon or previously discounted quote. You can get a free inspection by calling today to USS, which is United Structural Systems. USS guarantees their best. Go online to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com, or give them a call at 615-488-7855, 488-7855 for USS.
All right.
Man, oh man, one of those days was not able to get to the Secret Service who allegedly was duct taped. I bet Brian Wilson's going to get to this story, so I'm not even going to bring it up. The Secret Service is further embarrassed as to how they do their business, as apparently they are duct taping and breaking into random privately owned salons to use the bathroom there or something or another. Anyway, Mr. Wilson, how are you? And good afternoon, sir. What's going on in your world?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, just coming off of a beautiful weekend. I mean,
gorgeous.
it wasn't. Was that perfection or what?
Beautiful.
You just couldn't ask for better weather. No. So, it's been sort of hard to, to come in and refocus on work. But here I am, because I am dedicated and I am a broadcast professional, and I will be with you every day until this election is over. You can count on that.
It is on like Donkey Kong. And I mean, come on, man. I mean, now we're getting into silly season now.
Well, I believe that silly season is the year that any election is held, because you have to look at Washington and the ridiculous things that the hoops they jump through, because every single thing that happens on a political level has to be viewed through the lens of the looming election, and it's not always about doing things for the American people. It's about gaining political advantage one side over the other. We're irrelevant in the process at this point. It's all about sticking it to the other guy, and we just have to sit back and endure until they can, decide and cast these elections and get them counted. So we're going to start with a 2024 update. There's so much news in the 2024 update that we're going to break it into two different segments, one in the 3 o'clock hour and one in the 4 o'clock hour. So
looking forward to that. Absolutely. Brian Wilson coming up with the drive, 4 full hours. Can't wait for it. It's right after Jay Harper's newscast, and that's happening right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's been a good Monday. I've enjoyed it. Hope you have as well. Have a wonderful afternoon. Hug your loved ones. We'll see you tomorrow. So long, everybody.